Hello, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm your host, Kyptan, and with me today are Befuddled Panda,
Hello.
Ashaman,
Hey, everybody.
and Dusty Strings.
Yo.
Today, we're going to be discussing Excession, the fifth book, technically, from About the Culture.
Yeah.
Fourth one we're reading.
Fourth book that we're reading, and you know what? There's no real order to the culture, so read them whatever way you want. Starting with that, I'm going to go right to our newbies and say, hey, do you think this is a good opening point for the culture? And what was your experience with the book overall? Panda, Ash.
Say maybe don't start with this one. I think that the scope of this one is just a lot bigger. There's a lot to take in, and I really appreciated the introduction that I got to the culture universe from Player of Games, from Consider Pholebus, before diving into this one. That's my take.
Okay.
But then I don't know any different because I didn't read this one first. So.
And did you like it?
Oh, did I like Excession?
Yeah.
Okay, I did like it. I did not like it as much as I hoped I would. And we'll get into why.
Okay.
So I think I wouldn't have minded this as an introduction to the culture personally. There is enough to it that it feels self-contained enough within its story and its world building that I think I would be okay picking this up first. And I probably would have I would definitely prefer it to Consider Pholebus.
Oh, yes.
That's just a
No
book
question.
I think maybe just shouldn't be read.
Whoa!
Oh, shots fired.
But
Fighting words.
I would give this to maybe people I know that are very interested in AI and you know the concept of transcendence, and maybe see where they go with that. But as a general rule, I would still stick with Player Games as the intro.
Okay.
Oh, and did I like it? Yeah, I liked this one. This one was probably going to be my second favorite culture book that I've read so far, just behind Use of Weapons and ahead of all the other ones we've done on the podcast. It's got a lot to recommend it. I'm kind of conflicted on the structure. I think it mostly worked for me, though. There's a lot of interesting conversations and a lot of interesting characters, except for all the human ones. The human ones are terrible.
Straight up.
Okay. Dusty, how about you?
Yeah, definitely wouldn't put this as a starting point for anybody trying to read the culture. There's just too much stuff you need to know in the background that makes it way more fun to kind of understand when you're hearing what the minds are saying. Well, I had like a metaphor. I forgot what it was. It's like dropping somebody into a point in history without having any backstory. Like if they dropped you into Napoleon without talking about the French Revolution. Uh-oh, I said it. Anyways,
My
yeah.
eye twitches over here.
But I don't think it's a good starting point. But it is one of my favorite, especially on the second read. I've liked it a lot more. Okay, I say second read, but again, I'm only 50% or a little less than 50% through it on my second read. And I can appreciate it more now that I've read the entirety of the series. So it's one that I would recommend that if you finish reading all the culture books, you go back and read this one.
Okay. As for me, it's one of my favorite culture books, and I think it does work as an entry point into the series, but more for a specific type of harder core sci-fi reader. Someone who's used to scattered multi-POV books that eventually come together, but for a very long time, maybe don't. And someone who's used to being dropped in media res into a bunch of technobabble and figuring things out from there.
I can't tell if I liked the technobabble in this or not. There's
so many types of it, though.
Yeah, so one of the this isn't technobabble. This is just an interesting piece of world building that I highlighted. But at some point, it's mentioned that in this world there is an objective frame of reference for three-dimensional space, which that's not our physics, but it's interesting to think about.
The culture is very much not our physics.
Yeah. I mean, there's similarities, right?
Sure,
it has to be relatable.
But they've got hyperspace that's provable and traversable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that I don't know. Maybe the fixed point of reference is just future physics we haven't discovered yet. But it's kind of hard to see how that could be.
A lot of this is future physics that we can't comprehend or haven't discovered. Let's just put it that way.
Like the entire energy grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just nonsense. But...
And neural lace,
I
Neuralink.
mean, that's a well-established science fiction concept, the idea of a brain-computer interface.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
neural lace is just the extension of it to, to near invisibility.
Wait, but that's becoming real. Elon's doing it.
Neuralink. Yep. They got approved for human
Brain-computer
trials.
interfaces outside of Neuralink are much more advanced than Neuralink itself. Come on.
No,
Yeah.
I get it.
They just don't have USB ports.
I did like that we got an actual like physical description of Neuralace in
Yeah.
this one. That was really cool.
The little jellyfish object, yeah.
It's like a fluid.
I must not have got to that.
Oh yeah, it's much later.
We got more tech description in this one than I think all of the rest combined so far, eh?
I agree.
Quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Which is always a Kip book in waiting. So now that we've given our brief impressions, let's drop into spoiler mode. Because I don't know how much longer we can keep talking about this book without starting to talk about that.
For real.
So if you're not into spoilers, tune out now. I think the general consensus is great book. Maybe don't start with it. You can talk with us on Discord if you feel like you might be one of the special few who Excession might be the right start for.
Yeah.
Always feel free to talk to us on Discord about specific recs.
And then you'll become Kip's best friend.
Let's get into it. So the characters.
Mm.
We have a question from Murph, 1976, saying, I've only read a few culture novels, but it seems all of the humans that are recruited by Contact are eccentric in some way and need to be manipulated/bribed to get into action. Do you think these characters are representative of the average culture citizens or just the type Contact uses?
I hope not.
I would actually personally take issue with this question a little bit because I think that we see a lot of characters want to get into Contact, but very few of them seem to have much of a drive past the loss of luxury to their life that comes from it.
Yeah, I agree based on what I have observed.
Yes. But I would also say that we just haven't gotten to the books which have more intentional Contact agents.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in the chat, but I'm still not convinced that Contact or Special Circumstances anything more than a extracurricular activity that the minds offer humans without them knowing to give them some kind of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in this book, that is exactly what it turns out to be.
I don't know about that. There was Lefid. He noticed the Scar Hull, the Lenture emergency message.
Yeah, but then he immediately went back to doing what he was doing. It was like there was no oh, I should do something about this. No, it's I'm gonna know how I can have sex.
Well, yeah, he's the forget it tendency. He carried on the message, he delivered it to his handler, and then he moves on with his life.
I didn't realize he delivered it.
He did.
I just read that.
You find out about it a little later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's nice.
That was a situation when there was literally no minds around.
Yep.
But if he hadn't been there, I imagine they would have just, had a drone sitting by if they felt it was necessary to, scan incoming ships or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure that they do. I mean, from everything we read about the Affronters up to that point, the culture was watching them. So,
but apparently no one had noticed.
Apparently no one had noticed. Yeah, he got to feel important. Good for him.
Do you think it was a setup? Do you think there was a drone or mind watching and being like, no, I'll let this guy have it. He needs.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's what the sleeper service was doing with what's her face and what's his face for 40 years.
Yep.
So yeah.
Was Tyr a culture hub? Did it have a mind in it?
Tyr is non-culture. They don't even really know who built it.
Oh, okay, that's right.
It's just left in the hand of its robotic syndicates.
Cool.
Which don't like other AIs in the habitat.
Lame. Okay.
They'll let mind-controlled ships dock, but they won't let them inside. And they harass drones that try and go inside.
I do think that it's more than just mere extracurricular. I think that is part of it, where it's okay, you have all this luxury, you have basically anything you want. For those who are more adventurous, this is a nice outlet for that. But I do think that it's also a program where the mines can use pawns for things that they would rather maybe not get their hands dirty with, or needs just like some sort of vehicle for. Because something we did see later on is Dagil, whatever her name is, the pregnant lady,
Yep, the Gilles.
Dagil, the sleeper service did try to convince her. I mean, ultimately, it could have like made her give birth.
And it talked about all the ways.
Exactly. But it chose not to because I think it would have crossed a line that it didn't want to cross. I think that's a big theme of this book, which is not crossing the line, but yet crossing the line.
Mhm.
And the avatar, Moria, whatever, she did try to convince Dajil to, give birth, to like talk to Beer, but ultimately that didn't work. And then they had a different idea. Okay, let's use the girl, right? And that did get much further than when they were trying to do it themselves.
But that was a situation where this is essentially just the sleeper services pet project. It's like, oh, these two humans had a messy breakup. I want to see if I can fix that. Now, like, it wasn't actually anything important. It was just like the sleeper service, like, well, I got nothing better to do.
They were like, I felt invested in this project, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
screwed it up. I provided the vote which allowed it to happen.
I gave
Yeah.
bad relationship advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
By sleeping with the man.
Actually, yeah, that was funny.
It wasn't
I
even
enjoyed
bad
that.
relationship advice. It was bad matchmaking.
Yes, this is true.
But
Yeah.
also bad long-term post-psychological analysis,
Mhm.
which minds are supposed to take very seriously. And this one allowed a potentially lethal situation to occur, which is not great.
Yes.
Its original name was what? Quietly Confident?
Yep,
It got a little overly confident, if I do say so.
it did. It did
Yep.
get a little overly confident.
Absolutely.
It winked at him.
My problem with the humans being crucial in this is that the minds are so staggeringly competent in so many ways. Like, it's impossible for me to fathom how a human could actually prove to be of worth when you're talking about things that can do incredibly complex reasoning within like microseconds, who can operate on like such incredibly short time spans and across incredibly long distances, and are unquestionably more intelligent and have more capabilities in literally every way, right? So what value add does a human provide there that isn't just like hand waved, like, oh, human intuition?
I think the part is that you see how humans interact with the AI, right? And some are like totally comfortable, some not so much, right? And so when in the example I gave, it's like they sleeper service wanted a certain outcome, and they were trying to get to that outcome without forcing the situation. And everything it tried that was within its power, right, wasn't working.
Yes, but the like potential negative outcome that it was trying to avoid was on like the smallest scale possible for mind thought. Like the negative outcome is that Daigil remains depressed and Beer remains whatever he is.
He really
Dickish.
cares about beer. The sleeper service didn't really care about beer.
Yeah.
But it has this they're also like, more sentimental.
And that hopefully that infant, that fetus, is not, what did Gravis call it, turned to stone, half mad.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think what's interesting is that yes, these AIs are so powerful, they can accomplish all these things, but yet they're still a bit flawed, They aren't
For sure.
absolute perfection.
That's true.
Though Sleeper Service managed to pull off some amazing displaces.
Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we don't actually know the ramifications of really.
No, they just give us the numbers.
Yeah. And I'm just like, that's cool, but like what happened after?
I thought, because that was to scare the affront, right?
No, it needed to get rid of all the lives.
Its inhabitants.
Yeah. Really quickly.
Oh, those displacements. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't make it that far yet. So it was getting. Okay.
Though it
Yeah.
also managed a couple displaces while moving at like 230 something kilolights or whatever, which are also
They are very
dangerous.
capable. Yes.
Ash is just giving the most like, I'm sure that means something smile.
Yeah. Kill. I mean, like, I understand what those words mean individually. Absolutely. Yeah. The implications of this is
Remain unimpressed with the displays of competence of Technobabble.
In terms of like what the sleeper service, like I like the sleeper service quite a bit.
Me too.
I like how it was constructing a gigantic war fleet all on its own.
Yeah.
We're
40
preparing
years.
to construct a giant war fleet on its own for like 40 years, and had more warships than the entirety of the culture.
Yeah.
Just in its own
what
base.
that's like? But done better is I'm gonna spoil Rise of Skywalker.
Oh.
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and please don't compare the two.
Copy paste scene.
But
It's
horrible
supposed to get a
comparison.
similar emotional reaction. It's just that in Rise of Skywalker, it was
Season 1 of Picard. Let's just go there.
I haven't
seen all that yet.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I want Paramount Plus to be free.
Sorry.
I think that's the most upsetting comparison I've heard you make, Panda. Well done.
My brain goes where my brain goes.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Speaking of the final conclusion, Ture asks, is the ending anticlimactic? And I ask, who felt influential in the overall story of Excession?
Sure wasn't the humans.
Shoot them later.
Shoot them later?
Yeah.
Definitely some of those eccentrics, definitely.
Yeah, it was the minds for me. No humans, just the minds. Sleeper service, obviously. The torturer class, rapid defensive unit, killing time.
Yep.
That one felt influential. And then like all the conspirators.
I mean, not invented here, right? The one who
It's one of the
taken out.
Yeah, and then
what did Not
Attitude
Invented
Adjuster.
Here do?
Not Invented Here was one of the ringleaders of the conspiracy.
But they took an out? What do you mean?
They committed suicide.
Oh, really? I don't remember that.
Mm-hmm. It took me a little bit to understand what it did.
Did it run into the object?
No, it depowered its mind.
Yeah.
Oh, wild. Okay.
It ejected its power sources and then disconnected its power.
Yeah.
Sad.
Poor attitude adjuster.
That's a pretty brutal way to kill someone.
Convinced into suicide.
That was
Didn't even realize it.
Oh my goodness.
Torturer class is right.
Yeah.
Torturer class is right. And now you understand some of the danger of the culture effector systems.
Battle memes.
Which, speaking of memes, I learned that word was coined in, was it 1976 or something? And I did not know that. I thought it was more recent of a word, but no.
Old word.
It's from the Selfish Gene, right?
Yes.
Or is it before that?
Richard Dawkins.
Yep.
It's a good word. I'm upset that it's lost its original meaning, but it's always fun using it in that sense.
It's still representative of its original meaning.
Yeah. But memes are not just pictures.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
That is true.
They're not just pictures anymore anyways.
It's true.
Memes have really evolved, especially with Gen Z.
Ugh.
I'm just saying, I work with them all the time. They call everything a meme that's culturally relevant to them.
They're not wrong.
Well,
they are not wrong.
That's true.
Yeah, they're using it correctly.
They are. So we broke it, and then they fixed it.
Yeah.
Go Gen Z.
TikTok is the meme generator.
As the resident Gen Zer, I accept the praise.
Okay, so if we accept that none of the humans in this story are influential, are any of them your favorite?
Spock.
Spock?
Yeah, because he wasn't in this one, so he a character.
Oh my god. What?
Sorry, couldn't resist.
I enjoyed Ulver more this time.
That seems like a low bar.
I used to think she was super whiny.
Yeah, no, okay.
Super whiny.
that was really frustrating reading basically like a narcissist teenager person. But it was kind of weird towards the end when, she was a bit more grown up and mature and took the situation just like better than the actual adults. But then I think it's because she was influenced. It wasn't necessarily purely her.
I think she was the most purely her out of all the people that we got.
Okay.
Given that
That's true.
the gray area was like explicitly in the other two people's brains.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was in Degil's and Bear's brains, yeah. Screwing around with their dreams.
Yes. I think she was definitely the most morally upright of our three human protagonists.
I think she did kick some of her spoiled brathood to the curb, like she said she was going to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
In order to be a more effective agent.
And she's pretty
okay.
young, right? Like in her 20s, like real 20s.
Super
or
young,
something?
yeah.
She's very, very young.
Which still makes sense, because, I mean, there's still a developmental stage no matter how hard you try to get out of it. The culture tries. But, so it makes sense that she would grow.
Yeah, she would have the most to grow because she did start off like just further behind. But I guess the kind of turning point is probably when she was essentially like Googling herself and realizing that
yeah,
she was no longer news on Phage Rock,
Yeah, just one poem.
Yeah, and it was like not a really good one either.
By a third-rate sycophant.
Yeah.
Not even one of the good ones. Ugh. Yeah, I really did not like Beer at all, mostly because of his affinity for the Affronters, who are just the worst, right?
They are
like
the
categorically the worst. And wanting to be one of those, that makes you maybe worse than them.
I mean, would you rather be a diplomat to the affront and have to play bat ball and like lose every single time, or would you rather be in an affront body and have the potential to actually like win a game or two?
I would refuse the
don't
assignment.
do any of that. Like go
Yeah,
do
I wouldn't
something
want to be
else.
a diplomat to the front.
Bat ball alone is like the most unethical sport I've heard of.
It's one of them, yes.
It's one of them, sure.
I mean, they've genetically engineered the bats to be experiencing maximum suffering at all times. Humans have done some pretty terrible things to each other, but we've never done that.
But it seems like they did it to like all their animals.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, the Affronters are the actual worst.
But we do somewhat genetically, but in other ways we'll alter people to make it less pleasurable, for example. So like we've done that. And so it's not that hard to believe that a society could very much go down that road like the Affront did.
And that's part of the reason why I'm so disgusted with them.
Yeah.
True.
We've done it on much more limited scales.
Yeah. We haven't like germline edited anything yet.
We haven't, just the list of things they did to make life worse for everybody, that was pretty angering to read.
Yeah.
Sorry, we haven't germline edited any one yet.
True.
That's currently up for debate, though, about if it's like legal or ethical to change a person's genetics and that of their descendants.
Yeah, I've got a friend who very much argues that it is, and we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some cases where it's really hard to make the opposite that you shouldn't.
I mean, we can genetically engineer people to not be lactose intolerant. That's like a very simple thing you can do.
Yeah.
Or get rid of some of the genes that are more likely to, like, you have higher risk of Alzheimer's or diseases like that,
Mm-hmm. Or like, Huntington's. Absolutely, we should exterminate that, in my opinion.
Tay-Sachs.
Yeah.
But these are, we're trying to look at it in a positive light. Of course, this is the whole, like, if you open Pandora's box, who knows where you'll go. But, like, the Affronters, like, I get what you mean. Like, when they're like, hey, we can edit everything, they're like, how do we make life worse for everyone but the males?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how do we make their fear taste good?
Oh, gosh. That's totally opposite of us. So, like, my dad's a cattle farmer, and you don't want to scare the cows before they die. Because when the adrenaline pumps into their system, the meat tastes worse.
Yeah, but we weren't raised in a methane atmosphere.
True.
But
That is true.
it's pointed out that the culture has tried offering them alternatives for like an example for their meat. Like, we can give you lab grown meat; it'll taste much better. And then the frontier's like, no, the cruelty is the point.
Yep.
Yes,
The
that is
cruelty
true.
is the point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Name any worse human culture. I don't think you can.
No.
Yeah.
No. They're created as a thought exercise for like, how bad can this be?
No.
And can you imagine being the person who sees this and it like exists in a world where this is the case and being like, yeah, I would like to be one
I'll
of these
be
people.
one of you. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
that's so morally reprehensible.
But they're jovial, and on the audiobook, they sound like English jokers.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, the joviality really rubbed me the wrong
Tide
way
really
as well.
has like a like an English aristocratic accent, and it's hilarious.
I fully buy that. I was just thinking of like people who just like laugh obnoxiously loud just to mess with you, or just to like rub it in your face that they're laughing at you. Ah!
He sounds like a big game hunter.
Mm.
I can see that too.
He does, yeah. But that's also what I thought was interesting. They kept losing diplomats, but I guess they have the duel and the honor thing. But I was like, if I was a diplomat to them and I was just straight up with them and telling them how terrible they are, I feel like it might work because they're always like, you flesh bag piece of poo, I'm so glad to see you. I wish your head was separated from your shoulders. Like that's how they talk. So, like, what would be wrong with me being an ambassador and being like, wow, your society is really bad and backwards, and that's me saying it nicely, blah, 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 and then be like, oh, so funny.
I mean, I feel like they'd like that as long as you were also participating in the ceremonies, or at least being revolted by them in their presence.
Yeah.
They draw enjoyment from that. The question is, would you?
Would you? Yeah, random
No.
random them. There's also the element where you could like say all these things to them and they couldn't do anything about it, which they may like or may just kind of really resent. I don't know.
True.
It seemed like they didn't have problems with that, given that they adopted the name The Affront because they thought they described them so well.
It
Yeah,
does.
that's goofy.
Yeah.
Previously, just named themselves after their star or whatever.
I have to say it was really funny too that the species the culture was trying to use to keep the lid on the affront were like, we're gonna sublime. I'm done with this.
Yeah.
In the insufferable bad manners to up and sublime into elderhood. Yeah.
Oh, good lord.
And didn't even like afterwards extinguish the species.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think that this book added to the conversation about subliming in this universe?
To be honest, I was real confused for a lot of the explanation of sublimation. I think I kind of get it now, but I don't understand where they go.
No.
Into hyperspace.
Yeah.
They're just like stardust in hyperspace, but still sentient.
They like transcribe their mind states into a form which can self-sustain in hyperspace.
Mm-hmm.
They no longer require a physical tether in the material plane.
Yeah, there was one mention of it that were basically like you get to be in infinite fun space without worrying about your body suddenly being destroyed in regular
Yep.
universe.
You no
So-
longer
Yeah.
have to worry about the dependency principle.
Yeah.
Is the Excession essentially all the minds or whatever that have sublimated?
Well, at the very end, we get the point of view from the Excession itself,
Yeah.
and we get that it is essentially a sentient corridor that
Uh-huh.
other species use to traverse between universes,
Okay.
from older to younger, from younger to older, because all universes are like concentric
Yes.
circles,
Mhm.
like originating from some sort of big bang that is constantly happening and creating new ones and destroying old ones and blah, blah, blah.
But who was it talking to?
It was talking to its like superior, kind of, or like its employer / creator, whoever it reports to.
So that being is in like, I don't know, 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever dimension.
Creatures that it reports to are able to move from one universe to the next, which is a level of technology beyond any involved civilization in the galaxy.
Yes.
In my opinion, it implies that sublimation is merely the first step towards a higher echelon of life in the real plane.
Okay.
And that
got it.
maybe once you like go through sublimation, maybe you learn enough, you become one of these even more detached entities that's able to cross through at mostly unrecognized locations using these bridge-like accessions that just don't get found most of the time
Mhm.
because they're black body objects that hide in empty patches of space.
Got it. Okay.
Wait, so the fact that it appears here and that the culture does find it, was something trying to move in or out of it?
I think things were constantly moving through it. They weren't popping out into the universe that we were observing. That was essentially kind of more like it's, I don't know, like if you were thinking of a bridge, like that's the middle section of the bridge. Things don't get on or off there, but it
They're
still
going
crosses
through
the
it.
canyon. Yeah.
I
Which
see.
is why nobody can really get closer and do anything with it because
Yeah, it
it's
was just trying
not
to
possible.
protect itself / respond in a way that adequately exemplified the dangers maybe of the approach that you gave it. So if you dipped into it in hyperspace, it would dip into you in hyperspace, and it's way better at that.
Right.
Did the way that it mirrored everybody make sense at the end?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That was pretty clearly laid out, I think. Yeah, the concept of sublimation is a relatively common one in sci-fi. I'm not sure that this book, well, they discussed it, but I don't think that there's really anything that can be added meaningfully from this side of the question. So Banks himself is not a transcendent being. So
Yeah.
there's no possibility of him offering any insight from that side of the equation. And from this side of the equation, I mean, yeah, sci-fi authors like to talk about it. And,
How do you know he's not a transcendent being?
how do I know he's not transcendent being? What are the limitations of knowledge, right? There are definitely people who will argue that they're transcendent beings, and I guess who am I to say that they're wrong?
Thank you, Ash.
I mean, the idea of sublimation is actually, it's not even just a sci-fi thing. We've created it also in our own world, like the idea of heaven or the ideas of like nirvana. Sorry, am I going too far into that? I hope I'm not offending anyone,
No, I
but
don't
it is
think
an
so.
idea. Like everyone wants
yeah.
to get to that place. So
Everyone wants to grasp the absolute.
If you were a culture citizen approaching the end of your life, what would you do? Would you go immortal? Would you store yourself? Would you want to be on the sleeper service in one of its tableaus?
That would be dope.
That is, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Getting to be part of all those historical reenactments without actually having to do any work. I don't know. Like they live till they're 400 before they have to make the decision in the first place. So I don't have the perspective of a 400-year-old.
For real.
I wish I did. I wish I could, I should say.
Right?
I wish I could, but only in a society more like theirs.
Yeah, fair.
I might do it in this society, but it would require other people I know to also live that long because I probably could do it after the generations I know disappeared. I'd be done.
Oh, man. Yeah, Freerin hits me hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine having to live with like Gen Alpha and Gen Beta.
I mean, I'm fine with the new. It's not about that. It's about individual people, right? Like, my friends, family, children, grandchildren. But like once it gets far enough down the line, they'd be like, why is great grandpa still around and he doesn't have any connection with us? Like, no, I'm okay. Thanks.
You're not going to be intimately involved in the lives of your great grandchildren?
I don't know. Maybe I get bored with everything else, and yes, but
at that point, the losses may accumulate and take too heavy of a toll. I'm thinking that's a lot of damage.
That's pretty much my thinking. Like, even if I had these other people who were my loved ones, I would have lost all of the other ones, and it would have, like, no human, we're not designed like that. At least not yet. All right, that went really deep.
Speaking of designed humans, what was your favorite bit of enhanced biology in The Culture Citizen that was revealed in this book? Oh, and what did you think of, what did they call it? Mutualing?
Yeah, mutual.
Oh, yeah. That was odd.
I get the concept. I get the appeal. It would be nice if in our world the woman doesn't always have to be the one to carry the child and go through
Well,
that.
actually, that is the case in the culture. It's just who's the woman changes.
That's
I
true.
did find it a little backwards that you had to be a woman in order to do it.
You can't just asexually, like actually asexually do it.
You can't just like opt for a uterus.
Yeah.
You got to get all the rest.
Yeah, that would be nice if you could, as a couple or unit or whatever, you can distribute the burden
And precisely time it.
and precisely
Mhm.
time it. And yeah, that part is kind of weird though.
Can you imagine being pregnant for 40 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some
Uh,
people do really
Ugh.
enjoy being pregnant
That's true.
and they keep doing it, and that's a choice. I can't say because I've never been pregnant, so I don't know from
The
my own
culture has
experience.
clearly fixed all of the blood pressure problems and other
Oh my god.
ones.
yeah.
Okay, that's the thing that I would love is, and I made this note in my book, the ability to just really understand biology and like human anatomy, understanding the cause and effects and what each thing in the body does, and then being
Mhm.
able to regulate it. Can you imagine? That would be amazing. If we had that in our world, well, one, it wouldn't be affordable for most people. So I would
Oof.
love for it to be affordable. But that would be how you can actually live beyond, 80 years, 90 years, whatever.
Well, and not just live beyond there, but live healthily and happily, as
Yeah.
opposed to like the current system where you get to 75 and if like you're still healthy, you're lucky. That sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, culture citizens, if you ask anyone but Ulverseach, they age not really perceptibly between their 20s and their like 300s.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I loved the section where she was looking at herself old in the mirror, and she knows she can go back to her young face,
Yeah.
but she's worried that seeing herself as old will
I loved
make
it.
her act old, just like forever.
Yep.
Like she was so comically self-absorbed
Yeah.
that I almost loop back to respecting her.
Oh, I totally respect her more now. And her like bejeweled spacesuit.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah, no.
Bejeweled spacesuit.
Ulverseach, she knows what she's doing.
yeah.
And you know what? If maybe what she was doing for a very long time didn't have a lot to do with being a special circumstances agent. And that's fine.
I was really confused as to why she would be selected for special circumstances at all. And then when it was revealed that she wasn't, I was happy. That is, she needs a lot more character development in order to.
Hey, if the Interesting Times gang is not special circumstances, what are they?
I
Mm.
mean, like it's special circumstances, but like with a heavy asterisk,
Yeah.
it's just to facilitate
It's like
sleeper
what's
services
it
little
called?
problem.
The Expendables? Or like they're like the XSC, the generation that should have retired and did retire, but not quite. They still wanted to be involved.
Are you talking about a movie?
Yeah, isn't it called The
Okay.
Expendables or something?
I
Anyway.
Yeah, I
haven't
think
seen it.
it is. Yeah.
Expendables is a movie. They're kind of like action heroes, though.
Yeah, but they're the older ones. They've like gone back and grabbed Sylvester
Yeah.
Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and thrown them in a movie together.
Don't worry about it.
There was a movie like that where they were all retired. It was like Bruce Willis and a team around him, and they were fighting against the younger generation.
Yeah. That
But this isn't
concept.
really a
Yeah.
concept that makes sense for mines because they don't really grow old.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
In that group chat, some of the older minds did not put out real sentences.
Yeah.
That's true.
this is the whole personality thing too. Like they don't necessarily age physically, right? Because it's not the same.
Yep.
But get more data, like you're naturally going to change because they are sentient. So and then the whole, being more disconnected from the quote unquote younger generation, the younger minds that haven't been around as long, right? That's real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we heard some of the intermind debates, like the rise of fleeting in the culture, where two ships will just like kind of permanently
Oh,
stay
yeah.
close to each other because they want to talk. And the older minds are like, wait, are they going soft? Are culture minds gone soft?
Right.
Can they no longer stand being alone?
Speaking of the psychology of the minds, the metamathics that they do, just simulating entire universes in their minds. That was one section where I was like, okay, there really is no excuse for them to depend on humans at all at this point. Once you've gone to universe simulation, I think you can probably handle most things better than your average human.
But they can't simulate this universe, or at least they can't simulate living people.
They can simulate.
No, because
I
that's unethical.
I thought that
They-
they did that anyways, and they just didn't delete the universe when they were done simulating, and that was the thing. Like some of them still would run
They run simulations that are close but are not sentient, because sentient things have to have their own free will and bodies in the culture.
Yeah, can they measure sentience? I guess they
They
have
can.
future tech. They've solved the hard problem.
They can,
Yeah.
yes.
And because they talked about the acceptable range for Bear's gel suit and how he'd picked the lowest possible number.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And if you had to wear an AI-powered gel suit at your work constantly, would you want to make it stupid or smart?
Smart. No
Smart.
contest.
Smart, right?
I still don't get why they're always so mean to mines and don't want them around. I'm like, they're not that bad, and why do the mines put up with it?
Inferiority complex, right?
Who is mean to mines?
Like all of them, they're like, oh, I can't believe you're here. Oh, the module, you're so annoying. And I'm just like, why? Like, what's the point?
It's just humans being humans. Like, a lot of humans just don't want to be told what to do. Right?
Yeah.
I guess.
So.
They also don't like knowing they're inferior in every way.
I suppose.
I do think you give the mines a bit too much credit. Like, yes, they are super powerful, but to Kip's point, they do have a code of ethics that they
That humans don't need.
use and adhere to as much as
Mostly.
possible.
Except the meat effer.
Yeah.
But I
Was that
actually
that was the gray area, right?
Yeah, the
Yes.
gray area,
Gray area.
informally known as.
Yeah.
I think that what Gray Area was doing in my mind, like especially since we got the one perspective of it trying to discern what had happened with this genocide on that planet, I think that that's totally fair.
Yep.
Like, maybe I'm being rude, but at a certain point, if you've done horrifying things, do you really get to just keep that and bury it? Or should it be brought to the light, even if you're using something that is questionable ethically? Like, I think it's less bad than what those people did by a lot, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I mean, those people, while not being as bad as the Affront, are like, as far as I can tell, like super Nazis.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for Commandant at all.
They were super
Mhm.
Nazis, and do you think that condemning them to die through a series of never-ending nightmares is ethical?
Yes.
Yes? Okay,
Okay,
cool.
but maybe I'm a little rude.
How about diving into a lover's quarrel that's been going on for 40 years?
Fine. They're just trying to be
it
a
was
wing
better
machine.
for both of the lovers involved, right?
It ended up being that way. That is true.
Yeah.
Did it end up being better for culture affront relations that someone else tried to do a plan?
Yes. Right? I think so. Because
Are you pro or anti-conspiracy?
I think that they should have crushed the Affronters after the Adiran War. I'm totally on that boat.
So
Absolutely.
do I. Yeah, they could
You-
have smashed them.
Yes, they should have. I think it's incredibly morally irresponsible of the culture not to have done that.
Okay. So do you think that there was a rebound in the culture after the Adiran War that they went too pacifistic?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Panda?
Hard questions. I'm torn.
I guess you could say that it does set up a dangerous precedent. So let's say they take care of the affronters here in this galaxy, and that's it for that. But then they expand to other galaxies, and there's more aggressive species, and there's infinite galaxies, so there's infinite aggressive species. So does the culture continuously just fight everybody?
I mean, like, okay, so let's look at this from the perspective of anyone in the Affronter civilization who isn't the upper class male rulers, right? So, like, some billions or tens of billions of people. I don't think it's ethical to just leave them to their genetically maximized suffering just so you can have a high-minded view of yourself as a civilization that, oh, you don't interfere with other people. But I don't think that's morally tenable, right? It's like we very clearly in our human societies think that, a lot of us have strong intuitions that, it's not okay to just let suffering go on if it's just in another place that you don't see, right?
Oh, it happens all the time.
Sure, which is
All the
why in
time,
the
see?
90s we said there's
Yeah.
acts of genocide occurring in Rwanda, but not an actual genocide.
Yeah, so if I could snap my fingers and make that go away, I would.
I mean, it's happening now, today.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it
But
does. Yep.
we don't have like near omnipotent power to make it stop, right? That's the only reason why I think it's justifiable to not interfere.
Fair-ish.
I guess it's
I don't
more
know.
of like you're getting to like really, really philosophical debate of, well, who are you to be able to say what is right and what is wrong, right? Like, why is your moral compass the right one?
Yep.
That's the hard question, right? Sometimes people are like, you know what? I don't care.
But if you don't believe in your moral compass and its validity, then do you have one?
Right. But then it's also like, why is your moral compass more right than theirs? Because the other side could be like, this is my moral compass. This is what I'm doing.
That is what the Affront believes it's doing to all the barbarian races in their sphere of the galaxy.
Yeah. I mean, the Affronters make it such an easy case ethically, I think, because it's incredibly difficult for any of us to have a moral code where what they do is permissible, right? No human civilization has ever had something as bad as they've had. Not even close. But there actually is an interesting thought that one of the minds has that I highlighted.
About the Affront?
No, it was about how, yes, one of the minds says, for millennia, we have congratulated ourselves on our wisdom and maturity and reveled in our freedom from baser desires and from the ignobility of thought and action that desperation, boredom, indulgence produces. My fear, my terror, is that our freedom from material concern has blinded us to our true underlying nature. We have been good because we have never needed to make the choice between that and anything else. Altruism has been posed upon us.
Yes. I remember that section well. Was that in conversation with anticipation of a new lover's arrival?
I think so. Yes. Shoot them later and in anticipation of a new lover's arrival.
Yeah. Anticipation of a new lover's arrival is definitely one of the more philosophical of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when anticipation of a new lover's arrival was like there's a conspiracy going on? Was that same section, or is it later?
It's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the times when they're concerned about it, but
try to say that name 4 times fast.
Anticipation of a new lover's arrival. Anticipation of a new lover's arrival. Anticipation of a new lover's arrival. Anticipation of a new lover's arrival.
Oh my gosh. I haven't got to it yet, but is the washing instruction ship tapestry book or
that's a different one, I think.
That's a different one.
No,
I don't know what you're talking.
I used it in trivia once. It's in one of the books.
Let's see.
You're looking for it?
I am looking for it.
I swear it's in one of these books.
I think it's in the Hydrogen Sonata.
Oh, it's all the way back there, huh? Okay, maybe that's why I remember it so well.
I guess, so timeline-wise, this story happened after Player of Games and after Consider Phoebus.
Yes.
Definitely, yes. Because, the Zodian thing was mentioned and the Adiram War was mentioned.
Yeah. I guess how far... well, are there books that take place in between those two and this one?
It's a little hard to date some of them.
Maybe Look to Windward?
Yeah, it might be Look to Windward.
Just curious, because could you see if you did read them in chronological order or close-ish to it? Would you see an evolution of the culture and the mind, the way that the minds deal with these kinds of situations? Is that an expectation for this series?
I think that this book deals with that better than even reading in chronological order, how the minds talk about the older minds versus the younger minds.
I agree.
I can't remember, but I don't think the other books delve as much into that as this one does, which is why a lot of people like this one.
Gotcha.
So I don't think that it would matter. I think that just reading this book, that's why I felt like reading it after you've read some of the other ones, because it's developed. You have the idea of what the minds are and how they've changed in this one.
I'm looking at a timeline here, and apparently Player of Games is after Excession.
Oh.
I guess this is just, they were just holding knowledge of the Azadian Empire for someone who had a board game related problem.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in another galaxy, right? The Azadian Empire?
It is, correct.
No.
Yeah, so
it is?
they probably have knowledge of all sorts of horrible empires in other galaxies.
It's in the Magellanic Cloud, one of them. Yeah.
Oh, right.
You want another Panda comparison?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Do you know what the Twilight Bark is?
Yes.
No.
Yeah?
No.
Yes.
It's in the 101 Dalmatians movie, the Disney one.
You know what? I think
the
it's a great
animated
comparison.
one.
Great comparison. Yeah.
Yes! Okay.
What is it?
So the Twilight Bark is when Pongo and Perdita are on top of a hill and they're barking to the dogs, like, if anybody is around, there's an urgency, like alert, top urgency, 15 Dalmatian pups stolen. And then it's that montage, that scene of the dogs
Mhm.
The
barking
dogs
to
of
each
London.
other. Yeah, the dogs of London passing that message along, and then eventually it gets to the farm, you know? That's called the Twilight Bark. And the chapter 7, section 1, titled Tier, the transmitting of information about the Excession, and like I can't even remember who it was that was doing it, but the description of how long it took and like all the different ways that the message had to get communicated, questions being asked, and
Yep.
then answers coming back. That was like, oh, it's the Twilight Bark.
Speaking of, I think that is one of the most distinctive things about this book is the extensive signal sequences that it gives you. How did y'all feel about those?
Loved him.
What-
Best part of the book.
I agree.
I agree. That's what I was hoping for, and I wanted more of it.
I would have loved if the entire book was like that.
Was the headers too much?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
I also loved when there would be one conversation and then the mind would switch to a conversation with someone else, and it's like, okay, this person's obviously lying to me.
Signal sequence attached.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely don't trust you now.
Yeah, like all the mind stuff, fantastic. I'm so glad he wrote it, and I'm so baffled why he wrote the human stuff for the most part.
I think one of my favorite quotes is talking about the anticipation of a new lover's arrival, saying, "It trusts him no less."
That was good.
Lol.
Also, the initial chat, the Interesting Times gang is, finding out about the Excession, and then there's this one.
We have a question from Murph, 1976. So far, one of my favorite scenes is the secret meeting of the legendary minds where they drop the admin.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
I like
Wisdom
Too
like
good.
silence.
Wisdom like silence.
Should have
Yep.
kept quiet.
Silence. That's such a great name.
Pompous windbag.
Isn't there a question about like what's our favorite mind names or something?
What are your favorite mind names? Yeah.
I don't remember all of them.
I think mine is anticipation of a new lover's arrival.
mine wasn't in this book, so I had to pick a different one.
From this book.
From this book.
Very much not my favorite overall, but
I like Killing Time. That one's a good one. Also, Fate Amenable to Change.
Okay, Killing Time is interesting because it depends on how you say it, right? It's
Yep.
like, I'm just killing time, or it's killing time.
It's Killing Time. That mind actually might be my favorite culture mind I've met so far.
Really? Because it's like
It's so gung-ho. I love it.
it's like I prepared myself to die and now have this calm running through me.
I mean, it's like one of those. It's like the rare culture mind that is perfectly decisive, which is nice. Like a nice counterpoint to all of their like endless debates amongst each other, which like are valuable. And I think it's good that Killing Time is an outlier, but
Yes.
it's very refreshing to see that. Oh, this guy just definitively took charge and cleaned up most of the problem by itself.
Those warships. I mean, but was he ultimately necessary? Was the Killing Time ultimately adding anything really to the conflict? Or did they just do it because they got peeved?
It destroyed the attitude adjuster.
The Sleeper Service could have done that.
Sleeper Service could have destroyed the entire frontier fleet by itself.
Yes, this is true.
Which made it even more, I mean, that makes it kind of relevant. It's just like, okay, this one ship destroyed one of your ships pretty easily, and the Sleeper Service is that times like 1.5 million.
That's true.
We get to see the full strength of a GSV.
Yes.
Of a plate class GSV.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to minds that actually matter, it's kind of just the attitude adjuster, the gray area, and the Sleeper Service.
Kind of. Sometimes.
Somebody
I
had
don't
to
know.
convince the attitude adjuster to do what it did.
Yeah, the not invented here and the different tan and the steely glint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that happened before the book. Like,
yes, it did.
Significantly before the book happened.
Yes, but the outcome played out.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. If I had to pick like a short named one, I like Shoot Them Later And I do like Not Invented Here's name, but one of my favorite things is the full refund Hamamdan Empire class main battle unit, original name MBU 604, convert craft vessel rated integration factor 80%, NB self assessed.
Self-assessed is the best part of
Yeah.
that.
Yes, it is.
Yep. Full refund.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
That's what I just like the long ones.
Somebody ended up changing their name later on. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, it was The Rock.
The
The Rock went to something different. It was Rock, and then it said
Star
what was it?
Turn. Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it
yeah.
Star
Star
Turn?
Turn. Yeah, Star Turn. Rock First Era.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it literally was a rock. That's why it was calling itself that. Like it was a
A rock is a like class of habitat that's not often really made in the culture anymore. They tend to be older things because they're from before the culture developed orbital tech.
Mm-hmm.
uh-huh.
I do like End in Tears. Just End in Tears.
Yeah.
Sad.
What are they trying to say with this?
Do you think, I think there was somebody asked this question, do we think that the names are descriptive of the ships?
I
Of the
do.
mine?
I think
Yes.
so.
Yes.
Yes.
I think a lot of them are, but
I mean, the quietly confident clearly lost its confidence.
I think they're either descriptive or pointedly anti-descriptive.
yeah.
Sure.
It's either just stating its function basically, or making a joke that this is the contradiction actually.
The warships certainly seem to have a common naming scheme.
Yeah. So the not invented here, do you think it is the inventor of the conspiracy, but chose not invented here as exactly what Ash was saying, the opposite? Or like, why do you think it was named not invented here?
I think the best culture mind names have many different reasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of them, yes, is like the not invented here is a hidden member of a conspiracy, a ringleader who has been hiding for over 500 years.
Hmm.
Like they faked their own death.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's part of it as well, is that they've been absent and like, nope, not invented here.
So we keep talking about the conspiracy, but is this what it was page 72 or whatever, where talked about like no, what was it? It was basically like the idea that the minds were so basically the culture itself is changing its own evolutionary trajectory, like just a few minds within it. We're trying to do that. Is that the conspiracy? Like they do this to other civilizations, but the conspiracy is the idea that there are a few minds that actually have control in the culture and are trying to push it down a specific road.
So that's like the broad conspiracy theory that none of the minds really believe in. But what they do believe in is small groups of minds that try to make long, elegant plans for influencing galactic events and then don't tell anyone in case it doesn't work out.
Okay.
But something that the culture's detractors say is that the culture is actually just controlled by a few like central minds who plan everything that they do, and that the humans are a joke being kept on as pets or cover. While
that part is right.
Kind of, yeah.
Come on.
No, sorry. The human crews also make the mind slightly less likely to suicide.
That's true.
Which is why they are there.
That's why they're there on warships.
Yes.
It's not why they're there on GCUs.
Yeah, it's keep the GCUs from getting bored.
I think humans can be, at the very least, they're like the fingers of minds.
Isn't that what drones are? Drones are self-sentient, so no. Well, but so are
Drones are
humans.
like fingernails.
Okay.
Very useful for fine manipulation and damaging something, but not maybe necessarily the most human-friendly thing for affecting changes in the wider world.
I guess that's true.
I'm now imagining just like floating fingernails.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of the aggressive species that they come across are so like anti-machine or anti-machine intelligence.
And the drones find it too demeaning to take on human forms.
Yeah.
They use meat as like an epithet.
Yeah.
My meat mind, meat sack.
Hey, if you had to deal with the cognition speed of meat and you weren't used to it, I'm sure you'd find it disturbing too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like 5 levels above meat at this point, right? Based on what the Elantra drone has.
Just in what they incorporate into a drone.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, the shit mines have like an infinite labyrinth of memory to access.
Truly incomprehensible intelligences.
Yeah. And fully self-sufficient power sources stored entirely within their their thinking matrix.
Their bodies.
Yeah, there we go.
I was curious about energy. Like, what's the source to power all these machines?
The energy grid. The energy grid.
Hyperspace.
Which I got the answer now, but yeah.
There's just infinite energy, and you can connect to it.
Yep.
But it makes sense, like this continuous expansion of the universe, like in all, there's like dark energy, dark matter, all that stuff that they're talking about. You know, they've just figured out how all of it works, and then they just tap into it.
Vacuum energy is a thing. It's not
Yeah.
a thing that looks like what we see in this book, but who knows?
Yeah. We don't know how to access it, but if we had hundreds of thousands of superintelligences working on the problem, maybe we could find a way.
Totally. Yay, superintelligences.
Okay, we've got another question.
While you're looking for that, I just have a funny comment talking about the culture not subliming because they wanted to prevent the evils in the universe. Like they talked about that for a while, like it was a fun thing. And then it kind of made me mad because in State of the Art, they left the Earth untouched. I felt cheated.
They gotta have that control group data. And you know what? After we recorded the episode about State of the Art, I was like, I know that there's many different ways of gathering scientific data without having control groups.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not the gold standard, but do them all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say that.
It's kind of galactic opinion that the culture is maybe a little childish about their decision to not sublime, given their capability for doing so for so many thousands of years. That they're like staying in their teenage phase instead of growing up.
Mom.
Contact agrees. It's not a phase.
I don't know though. It's, I guess you look at it differently, and like even in our world, like people have different opinions of growing or like being better. Like I think of the idea of rich dad, poor dad, in which his poor dad is his real dad who's not rich because he uses his money and his time to help people, and his rich dad's rich because he used his money and his time to make himself more money. And like if the sublime people are the ones making themselves more money and aren't worried about other people, then I don't consider the other one to be childish.
Okay.
Did I go too political or philosophical on that one?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think this is a question where you can go too philosophical.
Do you think that the Excession should have intervened and fixed the culture and the affront?
Ooh.
Or do you think that it did exactly what it needed to do?
I think it was just like, okay, I'm just going to let them evolve and do their thing. I'll check back in, 5 centuries later or whatever.
If it's already sublimed elder species, then did it even care?
Well, we don't even know if it's a part of a sublimed elder species. That's just a guess.
But we don't know that it isn't.
Yeah, we know it's part of a technologically superior species, but we've got no idea what their relationship with sublimation is.
Maybe this is their control group, okay?
Maybe, yes.
I think the culture is their barbarians, for sure.
Oh. That's weird.
This is such an interesting take on it's not exactly first contact, but kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's second contact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought it was quite a fun take.
What did you think of the captain's mind state that they went to, that Beer got like sent on as a trap?
I didn't get that far.
Did you think that the resolution of that plot line was necessary or a letdown?
I don't know why I was really introduced in the first place. Looking back at the book and like,
she was the captain on the Problem Child, and the Problem Child was the one that had the first experience with the Excession.
Correct.
Or an Excession.
Yes, with the strange star.
Yeah.
Because apparently the Excession can also move stars.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Kip, you're totally right that the style of these culture books are wandering. It's not about telling a story quickly. It's more exploratory, which is totally understandable, especially in, sci-fi space and given the themes and topics that this is dealing with. However, I do find that some of these point A to point B, the in between is quite convoluted.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about, sleeper service, like its motivation, why does it even care about these two humans? It's quite convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
I have an analogy now.
Yeah.
I view culture novels kind of like a trick shot on a billiards table, where there's all these balls set up in specific locations at the start of the book, and someone takes a shot with it with the cue ball, and it bounces stuff around, things hit each other, things collide. But then at the end, maybe like one ball goes into a pocket, and then the rest are just left there on the table.
Yeah. I
that
think
seems
that's
apt.
pretty apt. If you're looking for every thread to be tied and it's super satisfying ending for everything, this is not it. But if you're okay with being on a journey, and a lot of these are tangents to build the world, and honestly, it kind of like was giving exposition
Yeah.
without just dry information, but doing it via a character, like a character moment, a story, a
Sometimes.
short story within, the larger story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like how you get introduced to Ulver Siege and her 5 beds.
Yes. And Lefid,
Yeah.
right?
His wings.
His wings.
They work in half gravity.
Which on Tyr is fine.
Yeah.
I appreciated more the description of Tyr, the building up of this like crazy festival habitat that is built on progressively increasing or decreasing, depending on which end you want to start measuring from, circumference and gravity,
Yeah.
made by long dead builders.
A lot of the descriptions is interesting. I mean, sometimes he gets a little too deep and I'm just like, okay, let's move on. But his imagination is just something that I do not have. Like, I can't even fathom like how you come up with, all these different ideas and like descriptions of places and things and all that.
I imagine a lot of it was him having a few drinks with very educated friends, and then they just kind of like riff off each other for a long time. And then at the end, as a note, like, okay, interesting idea for the culture right here. I have, neural lace or
Yeah.
mutualing or,
Yeah.
whatever else.
Or a poor little misfit boy who can only be happy if there's no one light years from him.
Mm-hmm.
He can work on his little ships.
He can work on his little ships and make his little fires and look at the baroque patterns on some long distant warships, not talk to the mind that's there,
Aw.
and then die.
Why were those patterns there? Did it explain, or just because?
It was a security measure.
Yeah, it makes it harder to hack.
They called it process baroquing.
Oh, okay.
And essentially they're encrypted down to a molecular level physically.
Mhm.
And if you try and wake them without disarming the hidden traps in that fractal down to the molecular level puzzle, then they'll know that you didn't do it properly.
I was expecting that to be an important plot point, and it wasn't.
It slowed them down. But yes, you're right. It had absolutely no impact on perceived pace of the novel.
Just the fact that the attitude adjuster could do that in the time that it did, right?
Yep.
That is pretty impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
It shows that once a culture vessel has physical access to something, there's not a lot that can stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the part where I didn't make it that far. I thought affronters went to there and tried to activate those
They
warships.
did with the attitude adjuster.
Yeah. Attitude
Okay,
adjuster
why
was a
did the
traitor.
attitude adjuster help them?
It was trying to provoke the affront into declaring war on the culture.
Yep. So then they could credibly take action against them.
So then the culture wouldn't have to declare war first. The affront would have done it, and then they could just deal them a solid defeat.
Yeah, fight a Roman-style defensive war.
Yeah.
And that's like the main conspiracy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. Okay,
That was
I
the
couldn't remember because I
conspiracy.
was like,
Yeah.
how did the affronters get these? They're so well low compared to the culture. So that makes sense.
And the shoot them later and the serious callers only pursued trying to gather information to uncover this conspiracy, and anticipation of new lover's arrival just said, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a sabbatical.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought
you won't be
the
able to
shoot them
talk to
later
me,
was
but you can leave a voicemail. I'll get back to you at some point.
I thought the shoot them later was in on it.
No, the shoot them later was not in on it. The shoot them later was trying to uncover the conspiracy. It was
Who
in its
was in on
own smaller little conspiracy trying to
it?
uncover the affronter war conspiracy.
Yeah.
Who was in on
And
the
they were very
affronter war
dramatic. Like,
conspiracy?
oh, we're gonna get killed. We both need to cover our tracks, and also
The
copies of
affronter war
everything.
conspiracy was attitude
Oh.
jester, different tan,
Steely
not
Glint.
invented here, and steely glint.
That's it?
At least
Those are the ones that we're sure of.
What was Sleeper Service? Did anybody tell Sleeper Service what to do, or was Sleeper Service like, hey, you know, it'd be cool to create a giant war fleet inside of me, and then maybe someday I'll get to use it? Ooh, this is the moment.
I think it's literally that.
I think
Are you
Sleeper
serious?
Service was like, you know what, I'm going to prepare, and I'm going to be ready to be called on
Yes.
in case of emergency, but how exactly I'm going to do that, up to me.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Sleeper Service explained that it was pretending to be eccentric.
Yep. It was operating as a sleeper agent. Oh ho.
Exactly.
Oh.
But that was under the direction of the Interesting
Of
Times
SC.
game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hereafter, it is known as one of the pinnacle examples of an eccentric ship actually being an SC ship.
Hmm.
Now everyone gets to be paranoid about that too.
Yep.
I love this.
It's quite the feat.
But who's going to be paranoid about it? I mean, like, for us humans, it's like, that's whatever you guys are doing.
Well, most
that's
humans
cool.
don't care. They're just living
Yeah.
their lives, right?
The gods are doing something. We can't really affect them. It'll be interesting.
Doesn't
to
matter.
watch.
I'm gonna go party now.
Yeah.
We did get significantly more detail about the culture's offshoot factions in this book. What
We
did
did.
people think of those?
I like the Elancher, or yeah.
Elancher? Yeah.
Yes, they're more of an attitude, really. That's how they were
Yeah.
described.
It's an interesting idea. They're just going out into the galaxy, and they've decided upon a mindset of they're not going to do any changing. They're going to be the ones that are changed.
Yes.
And yet, somewhat paradoxically, they actually stay pretty static.
Yes.
Yeah.
It said that was a trait that they inherited from their culture forebears. The ability to stay the same among constant change.
Yeah, so I kind of don't buy their attitude at all, because I would think oh, you're willing to be perfectly changed by the things you come into contact with. Okay, you as a faction will survive exactly your first encounter with another alien species and immediately assimilate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe in them as a concept, but it's a fun idea.
Yeah.
They don't say that they wish to completely change, just that they wish to adopt aspects of the things that they encounter.
But they don't really.
They don't always, though. No. Depending on the culture that they encounter, they go from 100% conversion to nothing.
The other thing that bugged me, though, was they would let ships follow them around, and when they found something interesting, they let the ship have it. So it's like the affront following them around and then finding some kind of elder technology that would help them, and the Elantra's just chill with it.
The thing I found weird was that they keep their distress calls secret for a month.
Yeah.
Or even longer, depending on who you are and who you're talking to. But I don't know. They don't seem to have a very strong sense of self-preservation.
No.
At all.
No. Yes, the reason why I say yes and no is because the yes part is I'm gonna send in my drone, and the fate amenable to change was you really should think this through. One of your kin has already done that, and look where they are. They're gone. So that's the yes part.
Ironically, where did they end up?
Right. The no part, though, is that communal relationship where they have this very coordinated, we're going to check in with each other every however many days. Okay, somebody didn't check in at the appointed time. stop exploration. There's a very coordinated go and see what's going on and try to
Yep.
help the ship in distress. So it's like both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely not anti-communal.
No.
But they're a little bit isolationist, and they're a little bit fatalistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a culture splinter faction or the main faction to sort yourself into, which would you be?
Main.
Yeah, the main is the best.
And by main, do you mean the true culture, the peace faction?
Oh,
Uh,
gross. I mean, as a human, I
don't
would
know.
recognize that my opinions on peace or war would be irrelevant anyways.
Did you like the affronter who was like, you see how that causes some confusion, right? You call yourself the true culture?
Yeah.
Mm.
I might want to go for the I forget it tendency.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're not a fan
Leftman
of all
seems to have a
those.
nice lifestyle.
I mean, yeah,
Balls.
but any number of cultured places could have basically the exact same lifestyle, and you don't have to enforce like Lent on yourself.
Enforce what?
Lent.
Like
the
they have that
primitive.
festival where they're giving up.
That's not
something.
related to the I forget it tendency. That's a tier thing.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Wait, so what makes the I forget it tendency special?
They're just more laid back.
Ah,
It's like,
more laid back than the
a problem?
hedonists.
Forget it.
Yeah, they think that the main culture is not sufficiently hedonistic. They think they're too uptight.
I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be an eccentric.
An eccentric.
Yeah.
Out in the culture ulterior.
Ulterior.
But I'll be pretending to be an eccentric.
Oh,
but
great. So
not
you want to be
really.
sleeper service?
Yes, actually.
Cool. Yeah.
Actually-
I also want to be an SCGSV, but that wasn't on the table.
Why isn't that an option for humans, huh? Why can't they have their mind serve as a template
They
for
can.
other minds?
They can.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
there
you
we
can
go.
join.
It's brought
I
up a
would
couple
do
times.
that. I would definitely do that.
So I think that the first step up from human is drone. You go from human to drone generally. You can go from human to mind, but it's generally considered that there's not enough in a human to make up the basis for a mind.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You need like a bunch of them. You form a group mind, and that's how you go
Yeah.
straight from baseline human to mind.
Which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And most ships are a union of 3 minds, right?
Certain classes of like GSV, once you get up in size, some of them start having unions of minds. Some of them do not, though.
Right. So the sleeper service was originally a union of 3 minds, right? And then,
Yes, plate classes by standard are 3 mind junctions, as are ocean class GSVs.
and we never which is bigger, plate or ocean? Probably
I
ocean.
think
eh?
plate is bigger.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
literally looking at the size comparison right now. It's still really hard. Plate is the biggest.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Plate, continent, desert.
plate is like the size of a plate on an orbital, essentially.
Yeah. It's massive. Its continent isn't even comparable to the plate, according to this.
Yeah, and desert sure isn't. Desert doesn't even count as a GSV anymore. It's got downgraded to a medium system vehicle.
Yeah.
So I got the book, the culture drawings.
Yeah,
Oh,
I haven't
did?
finished looking. Yeah, I haven't finished looking through it, but now I'm really curious and I want to
You
go
like
look
it?
at all these different. Yeah, it's really cool.
Cool.
There's only 500,000 that's been printed.
ooh, I better buy one then.
I'm gonna have to pick one up.
Yeah, I think it's like $60 USD.
It is.
Are there any fun depictions of culture, human, and plumbing?
I will take a look.
It was talked up so
Oh,
much in
yeah.
Flavor of Games.
And in this one, we got a length of orgasm.
Oh
Yeah, we
yeah,
did.
his was relatively short, only about a minute.
It was
Only about a minute,
long.
yeah.
Well, but he
Because
was
he had his
being a
neural lace
primitive.
taken out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was such an,
Jeez.
I guess, interesting scene. Yes, if you plot a jagged enough course for the ship, it'll do
It'll
all
do all
the
your work
bumping
for
for
you.
you.
He'll do all the work, yeah.
He's optimized his seduction techniques.
Yeah. Hmm.
There's always something weird about sex in a culture novel, and this one had several things to choose from.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I mean, I know a few people who would be into the idea of having sex with an AI mind.
And I know some people who would be into the idea of a zero gravity oil bath,
No,
Gross.
thanks.
where the air has to get displaced into your lungs.
I don't understand. Okay, yes, okay. Ugh.
And you have to wear little nose plugs.
Oh,
So weird.
that doesn't sound fun.
I mean, it sounds more fun than her receiving bed, which was for like when you want to play act as a queen who's sitting in her bed, seeing all of her royal subjects come in and out.
Oh, I have no memory of this.
No,
It's okay. Don't worry about it. She has a
I
lot of
kind of
beds.
skimmed some of that. Yeah.
she has 5 beds. Only 5.
Only 5.
I mean, it's a lot less extravagant than like 5 houses on different orbitals across the culture or whatever.
Or on
Hmm.
different islands across the world. Oh, what?
Yes. By that standard, she's economical.
Yeah,
She's doing great. Yeah.
she was willing to do with only like a couple dozen of her friends and family coming along with her on the.
And
that's
only her
bullshit.
favorite mount,
Oh, yeah.
She's a horse girl.
which I did like. It wasn't a horse. It was very clearly an alien creature.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's effectively a horse, though.
It is effectively a horse. It's
There's,
called Brave.
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
one point on like I think it was like tier at some point there's like the sexapedal creature. I'm convinced Banks only included that creature so he could use the word sexapedal in a sentence.
I'm not going to
Very,
fight you on
very
that.
Probably, yes.
Not going to fight you on that. I did like the Forget It handler who was hoping that by spending time with Forget It tendency people that he would become more of a party animal, and it just hadn't happened.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I live in constant hope, but there's no progress.
But like he could, get one of the minds to induce that in him, at any point. So
True.
clearly the failure to do it organically is on some level satisfying to him.
I mean, would you remove what you consider your flaws? Would you
Depends on the
have
flaws.
would you have a mind go in and say, no, I don't
Absolutely.
want to be a party pooper anymore?
I would like to feel accomplished for doing some level of work in my life. Yeah, that I would remove that flaw. I would like to feel good about things. That sounds nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any flaws that you wouldn't remove?
Yes.
Is this an interview question? Like, what is your weakness? Oh, well, my weakness is also my greatest strength.
Yeah, and which culture or alcoholic beverage do you think you most resemble?
Not the
one that
90,
tastes
50 or
bad.
whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't taste good, but you look fancy for drinking it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, did you find any contradiction in the culture's stated lack of money and how much characters seem to be spending on things?
And the ruminations about like how social hierarchies aren't really a thing, but there are these tiny differences that exist within the social structures, and those are basically social hierarchies anyways.
And people who try to be artists are just childs.
Mm.
They're just children.
They're just so they're so attention focused.
They're pick-me kids.
Yeah, coming from Ulvar, that's like a hilarious reflection.
I do love Ulver's thoughts about what proper society is supposed to be like
Mm.
and the purpose of life.
Yeah, she's like thinking, she could have gotten modified to look like anything else, but she's really of the opinion that the standard human female is about as good as it gets.
Yes.
Specifically when it looks like her.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh man, that was so funny. She was upset about people breaking up with her, but then upon reflection, she realized that someone who doesn't agree that she's the most beautiful person in the world clearly doesn't have good taste. Like their judgment is irrevocably compromised, anyways.
And that really lessens the pain.
That is fantastic. That is the best coping mechanism for a breakup I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Well, they're clearly disturbed, so don't need to worry about them anymore. Maybe I should refer them for aesthetic counseling by a mind.
That was so funny.
Yeah, Ulver Siege. I love her. She's a great socialite.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Your enthusiasm for her makes me like her more.
There was a couple points where it was like kind of grating for me, like when she was throwing that temper tantrum and then Gray Area just kind of throws her in her suit.
Yep.
But it was good character development, I think.
I love when
That
she
was
was
a
saying
great scene.
goodbye and Chert Line started doing like sonic booms outside to hurry her up a bit.
That was funny.
And it was just like, it only took her another hour. And then it only took her another hour to do this. And it only took her 45 minutes to get dressed. And she only spent 5 minutes choosing out her jewelry.
Yeah. It was a great development arc. Okay, it
Yep.
wasn't a
Yeah.
long arc, but it was there was an arc.
Yeah,
It was
there
an
was an arc. She was a ruthlessly determined spoiled brat, but if ruthlessly determined meant she had to kick the spoiled brat to the curb, she would do so.
Yes.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, I like the point. Yeah, she resolves, okay, I'm going to be a serious operative now, and then continues the rest of the book mostly unchanged.
Well, her mission ended like as soon as it started.
Yeah, she found
That
them.
was hilarious.
She did one kidnap job, and then and then she was like, wait, you mean I'm not actually being hired by SC to do this thing? And it's all a misunderstanding?
What a twist.
That was funny.
Then she didn't have anything to do, really. She was sulking until
She had sex with beer.
she had sex with beer, and then she had a talk with Dajil.
Dajil really just needed someone to not cater to her, I think. That's what her
Yeah.
character needed.
Yeah. The woman chose to be pregnant for 40 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep. And isolated in a tower.
Yeah,
Think she had long hair?
probably.
I don't know. She was going swimming a lot, but I'm sure the culture has hairnets for that.
They have magical hair that doesn't get wet or something. I don't know.
She was swimming in like gas giant atmospheres, so I think she was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those gel suits are pretty amazing.
Okay, those gel
Mhm.
suits, I feel like that is kind of the equivalent of like an animal companion, like Bear's gel suit. That was like the role it
It is.
fulfilled for me.
and he's so mean to it.
I know.
Yeah, he was.
So mean. So mean.
Poor gel suit.
Yeah. Björk definitely continues the trend of not treating the semi-sentient or even fully sentient, but on the lower end of things, minds very well.
Mm-hmm. I really didn't like his character.
He's not a good person.
No.
He's just a bad guy. He's a really bad guy.
Emphasis on the guy.
Yeah, that's true. He's very male.
But
He
you know
is.
what? I appreciate that he's like, I'm just going to live my life once, you know, and that's it.
Yeah.
Good for the rest of the universe.
Ah.
Absolutely.
Because they do go over like the teleporter problem and the problem of backup mind states not being the actual person.
Yeah. Totally correct there.
Totally correct. I'd still have myself backed up, but what do you all feel like?
I wouldn't. I don't see the point.
No backup for you?
I would.
I have no idea. I really don't know. I can't. Oh, sure. So somebody else can talk to me when I'm dead.
Oh, so would you do a backup that's only for like storage?
I wouldn't use it like while I'm still actually alive.
Well, yeah, but like after you die, would you leave instructions for like a new instance of yourself to be made, or would you just like leave the backup in archive?
I think I would do it at least once, like have a new body, I guess. Yeah. And then
Be like, okay, no more lava surfing for me.
Yep, 'cause that's what I'm into.
I don't know. That's tough. I was about to say like maybe I'd have one backed up and they could reanimate it if my loved ones wanted, but would I want to put that question on them? Philosophical.
I definitely wouldn't want to put the decision on my loved ones.
Yeah, that's why I started to like kind of reassess.
I mean, we're finally free of Kip.
Oh wow.
Maybe we need someone to bake bread for us.
Not in the culture,
Not in the culture. Yeah, that's true.
except on
Oh,
primitive week, primitive month.
I mean, I guess this also brings up the whole thing of death, right? How impactful are deaths when you don't actually have to be permanently dead? Banks handles it interestingly. Like there are choices where it's like, no, I'm gonna be permanently gone. But then there are deaths where, you know, like sleeper service, right? It did have a backup. It could remain around even if its like physical body was destroyed. I do think that if sleeper service had been destroyed, even though it had its mind backed up, I would still be sad.
I think it was right. I don't think it would have gotten a new body.
Yeah.
And there's Killing Time, who just it transfers its mind state, and it's like that's like my kid now. I've got a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I definitely empathize more with that perspective on things.
Yeah, it's like it's not 100% you, it's a part of you.
It's like a descendant.
Yeah.
Like a twin brother, in my opinion.
Because, consciousness doesn't... I seriously doubt that it transfers, is my thing,
It definitely seemed to be no continuity there.
Yeah.
But wait,
It's not like the processes of the sleeper service stream out in its dying moments and then just like start running on new hardware elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yes,
Got it. Okay.
agreed.
but I thought that's exactly what it was.
No, it's a discrete backup that gets sent out, and then that can start running on new hardware somewhere. There's no continuity of consciousness.
I mean, I guess.
It's a fork. It's not one stream.
Yeah, so
Sure.
if it sends out its mind state, and then, it doesn't die, but that other mind state gets activated, it's not like conscious of both of those places at once, right?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes
Really
sense.
be conscious of its original
Yeah.
one or its new clone body.
Which is actually the plot of a culture book.
It is?
Yeah.
Which one? Oh, can you tell
Oh
me?
man, I
Or
can't
is that
One
remember
that we
which
haven't
one.
read yet.
Okay. Well, duh.
It sounds like inversions to me.
Uh-huh.
The Uncle Tishlin or whatever. That point. See, this is the example of like wandering storytelling, but still being like useful. That plot point was informative in how this whole backed up mind state works, and
Mhm.
he could reabsorb.
That was actually a like another layer or level to it, because that interactive simulation
Yes,
was
that.
not actually his mind state.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a level beneath it.
Got it.
It's a projection of what he would do, but it's not actually a sentient construct at all. It doesn't have his mind in it. It just has a very good projection of what he would do,
Got it.
like a deep language model, like a chat
Mhm.
GPT based on his reactions.
And
Got
like a
it.
pea zombie.
But he decided not to reabsorb it because he sees it as just like it's different.
Not him. Yeah.
It's not me.
Yeah.
So if you can only imagine, you do back up your whole mind and then it goes into something else.
I would be fine with reintegration of a separate piece of myself. I would be fine splitting myself into two, having them go to two different places, and then reintegrating later.
Oh yeah, you're a fan of Ghost in the Shell, aren't you?
Yep. I love Ghost in the Shell.
That was the inspiration for the Horcruxes for J.K. Rowling.
I was thinking of the Time Turner, not the Horcruxes.
Scottish
but
author.
Yes.
I don't think so. I do not think so.
I don't think so either.
Does anyone have any last thoughts about Excession?
I don't think so.
No?
Like all these
Nope.
books that we read for the culture, I have more fun with it when we're discussing. Like some of the reading experiences are really enjoyable, but it's really the discussion that really make it more fun.
I agree.
Kind of like
Both for
Malazan.
me.
Kind of like Malazan. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I love Malazan, but talking about Malazan is better even.
Okay, here's my final question then. Who is the least insufferable person in this book? Human.
It's
Human?
Or
what's
alien,
her face?
but not mind.
Ular? What's her name?
Ulver?
Ulver, yes. Ulver.
Okay.
Okay, maybe the wings guy.
Okay.
Lephid.
Lephid, yeah. Who gets his name mistaken by the girl that he's seeing at the end?
That was-
Then he's
that was
like,
a
I
really
think I
funny
love
twist.
her. Oh, Kevin.
Dusty?
Seaver's mom, because she only said 4 things. Man, I'm being really mean. I just think that these people are really bratty, and
Yes.
they have something
They live in
that I will
utopia.
never have. I know,
Yeah.
and I guess that maybe I would act the same way, but just from my perspective and my point of view, I'm like, shut up. So
I'll take our poor little shipbuilder in Pittance.
Oh, yeah.
The poor little
He didn't get
damaged boy.
time to be annoying.
No.
He would be, terrible in actual company.
Yes.
But I love someone who can find their place in life, and it's an unusual place.
Yes.
I think he made like totally the wrong call in not having that part of his personality fixed.
But he's unique. He's rare.
Wow.
He's that.
That's totally a valuable trait.
He's that pure rarity in the culture, a genuine misfit.
A genuine message.
The way the mind treated him, that was cute. You know, like, oh, do
Yeah.
you want me to speak for you? Okay, you can just nod and like you don't have to say anything.
Say you have a vow of silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
That was funny.
That was so
I
caring.
feel bad for that mind.
I feel
know.
really bad for that mind. It was naive and it paid the price for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But speaking of exposition, the exposition around pittance went on for a while when it first got introduced.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
was definitely one of the parts I'm like, you could have cut this down. Like if he
Also
made use of
Cage.
footnotes, if he made use of appendices, you know, that would be fine in that. But
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes he's just interested in building up a science fiction idea and he wants his ship store to have an actual like background in celestial navigation, whatever.
the spin was too
Mhm.
fast, so they just had to adjust it. Oh my goodness. All right.
Yeah, they did one careful collision which changed its trajectory to go right through a front space
Mm.
and give it the right rotation.
There's a reason why I'm not into physics and, you know, the really hard sciences.
I mean, I am into physics, and that was still just like, you don't need to tell us this.
And like the ejecta from the collision served to disguise all of the little satellites that were around it.
Great.
I like that stuff. I thought it was fun.
I thought it was fun too.
I think some versions of it are fun.
An
I'll be
abridged
captured more by some
version.
than others.
An abridged version.
Yeah.
The audiobook is slightly abridged, I will say.
Oh.
It would occasionally just skip sentences that did not need to be there.
Did you see? Okay, at least in mine, this edition contains the complete text of the original trade edition. Not one word has been omitted. It says that in my copy.
Wait, really?
Wait, so there is an edited version.
There is an edited version.
Wait, Dusty, can you see if yours says that? Because yours is newer.
This edition contains the complete text of the original trade
Oh.
edition. Not one word has been omitted. Same.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I don't think the audiobook can say that.
Got it.
Nope. Interesting.
Okay.
Now I'm curious if there's like actually a physically published version that is not the original.
Maybe that's why you can't get it anymore. Maybe Ian M. Banks was like, wait, you're just going to start editing down my words and publishing them in whatever country? No, I don't like that.
Oh yeah, I guess we haven't told the listeners or ranted about this to the listeners is how difficult it is to get a digital copy of this book if you're in the United States.
It's
Or
how difficult
Vietnam.
it is to get a copy of this book if you don't live in a country that has this book. Yeah, it was literally impossible for me. I had to mail it to someone I knew was going to come visit me, and then they had to bring it to me.
Oh my goodness. It's like the Twilight Bark, sort of, but not.
We appreciate your valiant efforts.
Yes.
If I would have done it earlier, I would have thought of it better in a better way. But I just figured I could get it on the Kindle. I had some workarounds that I thought would work, and I just didn't get to them. So
Okay.
It's hard. This book is hard to find.
So, folks, what book do you think we're going to do next?
we cannot do inversions next because it is apparently also not on Kindle.
I was not going to suggest inversions next.
I could do anything beyond that, though. Look to Windward, Matter, Surface Detail, or Hydrogen Sonata, but I kind of want to wait to read Hydrogen Sonata.
I also think we should wait to read Hydrogen Sonata.
Yeah.
I am in favor of possibly Look to Windward or Matter or Surface Detail. I think those are really our three choices if we don't do use of weapons. I think we're ready for use of weapons now.
I know which one I'm pulling for.
Use of weapons.
Always.
Kip, do you think I'm ready for use of weapons?
I think you're ready for use of weapons. I think you have all the culture knowledge that you need, and you've already read Malazan, so I think you're good.
True.
The only thing that's challenging about use for weapons is the structure.
That's not true. The protagonist is a dick.
Yeah, but at least he's like competent.
Okay.
You know?
It's probably
He's
going
not
to
like
take me
whiny
longer.
and insufferable.
I don't know. He's a little whiny.
I can listen to Matter and Surface Detail and Use of Weapons. Okay, and Hydrogen Sonata. Sweet. For free on Spotify.
But I think it's time we circled back to use of weapons.
All right, let's do it. I have it.
I don't even need to reread it. I reread it when we did it last year or whatever.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That was
I
my
also
third
reread
read.
it last
I've never
year,
read a book
but
that many times.
I think I'll just skip the first half this time.
Oh my god! You guys are not
Fair.
selling this well.
No, it's really good. I just read the first
It's
half
very
so
good.
recently. I read it for fun.
Yeah.
I'll be reading the full thing. Don't worry.
All right. Start taking bets if you think I'll like it.
Last time I read Use of Weapons, I just read the first half.
Okay, fine.
Do I think you'll like it? That's a good question.
I have no
So in
idea.
the dark. I think you'll enjoy talking about it.
I think you'll enjoy talking about it. I think you'll respect the literature aspects of it. I don't think you'll enjoy the characters or story in
Cool.
I haven't listened to enough of the Malazan episodes, but how do you feel about Calor?
Oh, lovely.
Actually, yeah, that's a very good comparison.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
it's
will
pretty
be reading some Star Wars before I get to Use of Weapons. I need some
And we
Okay.
space these episodes up by like 3 months anyways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Which is perfect. Hopefully, I'll be in the States for
No
when we
rush.
choose
No rush.
inversions.
Culture is supposed to be calming, relaxing.
Mhm.
You're totally
Yeah.
not supposed to read the last half of it in one day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on, but Excession, you absolutely are.
Are you?
Wait.
Because
Well, that's good.
the timescale for Excession in the end turns down into like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's
true.
true.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, hopefully by the time we are ready to record, Dusty will be stateside.
Nice.
So,
Woo.
woot woot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been the Legendarium Green Team. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Our intro and outro music is Galactic Damages by the Jingle Punks. Thank you, Craig, for loaning us this corner of your media empire, and Horizon Brave for getting us all started. You can see us on Twitter and Discord mainly. But yeah, it's been a blast, guys. Thank
Ooh,
you, Panda, Ash, and Dusty.
Thank you.
later.
Bye.
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 Ooh, that was our longest culture episode yet.